Hi, welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm Chief Alan Rodbell with the Scottsdale Police Department. With me is Miss Chris Vassall, our community liaison. Hi, Chris. How
I
you
like
doing?
the miss part.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. You're doing good?
I'm good.
You're doing great. Okay.
May
well,
already.
May.
Unbelievable.
What happened to this year?
I don't
we got
know.
Christmas plans? What are you doing?
I don't know. It's going to be you better start going Christmas shopping already.
I haven't paid for last Christmas
I know,
yet. I'm
isn't
sure
that
most
funny?
people haven't either. So anyway, so yeah, May's here already. We just
Yep.
went through a huge month. April's a huge month for a lot of awarenesses and quite frankly some celebrations and recognitions. It's volunteer month. It's communications, telecommunicators week, which isn't a word I find every time I use it, but telecommunicators are 911 center.
Correct.
It's also a time of year where we talk about victims, and it's a crime victims month, and also Sexual Assault Awareness Month as well. And so I thought we'd kind of talk a bit about the Scottsdale Police Department and the services that we have and the way we handle things, and possibly some suggestions for folks that may need those kinds of resources.
Absolutely, and just to know that those resources are available and they are here, and how to access them. I mean, it's important to get that information out.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind introducing our guests.
Oh, thanks. You always do that to me. Okay, now if I mess up your names, I'm sorry. Callie Willis, I know. But Brooke, I always say your last name wrong. Detective Scritchfield?
Yes.
I did it. Yay. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
So we're talking about Victims Awareness Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and both you ladies have different roles to play in the aspect of supporting families and supporting victims and investigating incidents. And so I'll ask first of all, you kind of talk a little about yourself and who you are and where you work in the police department and services you provide, and we'll go from there. Kelly, why don't you start for us?
Sure. My name is Kelly Wills, and I was actually hired by the department 13 years ago. And I feel really fortunate because I was hired because the Scottsdale Family Advocacy Center was going to be opening up in February of 2003. And they were looking to hire a police crisis intervention specialist to have specifically at the Advocacy Center. And so I applied, and luckily I got the job. And so I'm actually based out of the Advocacy Center. I get to work with Detective Brooke Scritchfield and many of the other detectives that work in our persons crime section. So I actually started in this field in 1989, believe it or not, and I feel really, as I said, grateful to work for the police department because I am a part of a police crisis intervention section, which is a very unique section in law enforcement. Not many law enforcement agencies actually employ people like myself, and so I get to do a lot of really interesting things throughout my day. I get to work with a lot of people who have been a victim of a crime, which oftentimes is very sad, but I feel that it's a very important role to be able to assist victims immediately after they've been a victim of a crime. And the Scottsdale Police Department actually has a wonderful protocol, and they actually follow many studies that have been done that prove and show that it's really essential that immediately after someone who's been a victim of a crime that you immediately offer services on scene to that individual, such as someone like myself and the others that I work with in my unit.
You know, you're not the first guest we've had from PCIS.
Right.
We've had a number of times, and we talk about it all the time on the show. And just for our viewers, we couldn't be more proud of this part of our organization. 40 years ago, now 41 years ago, I guess, we just celebrated the 40th. 41 years ago, City of Scottsdale had the foresight to actually create this unit of master's level counselors to support social workers, to support victims in the community. That was unheard of back in those days, and here it is 41 years later, and we're still one of the few departments that actually work this way and operate this way. And
that are police employees.
Yes.
These are social workers that are police employees that work directly with victims and detectives and police officers.
Yeah. And this is huge because oftentimes the work that you do actually replaces the police officer from having to go out and do some of those kinds of things, or wait for resources to arrive, or find resources that can respond. And so you guys are wonderful, and we talk about you all the time, and we're very, very proud of you. Didn't realize that you'd actually been on that long, so it's been a while, but it's been like yesterday.
It sure has.
It sure has, yeah.
Time flies.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Brooke, tell us a little about yourself and your background. I know you're a police detective, obviously, in our persons section.
Yes, I am. I'm Brooke Scritchfield, and I'm a detective up in our Special Victims Unit. I've been a detective there for 10 years now, and did domestic violence detective work for a couple years before that, and before that I was on patrol. So been involved with victims of various crimes for many years now, and I'm just shy of 18 years here with Scottsdale Police Department.
That's amazing. I can't believe you've been here that long already. That's crazy, Brooke.
Time goes fast.
That's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about how we handle these kinds of cases. So a victim calls in to probably 911, or may possibly walk in or call on the telephone saying they're a victim of abuse or sexual assault. What can they expect?
Well, I think it begins even before they pick up the phone and call 911. One of a program that we really promote is Start by Believing, and what that means is if someone does disclose to you that they've been a victim of any crime, any violent crime, whether it's physical abuse or sexual abuse, that you believe them. You just start by believing them. If you can imagine disclosing something to someone and them not believing you, you're not going to take that extra step to pick up the phone and call 911. So we encourage people to believe what they're being told, whether it's believable or not in their mind, to believe, and encourage them to contact the police department. Whether it's Scottsdale Police Department or not, you can go to the hospital and they'll in turn call us as well. But once that phone call is made, they're going to have the response of a patrol officer. Patrol is going to contact our crisis unit that they're going to respond out to help as well. You'll have detectives and forensic nurse examiners, and if it's a child, you have Department of Child Safety and the Office OCWI, which is Office of Child Welfare Investigations, and there's so many different arms that work together. And we do all work together out of our advocacy center as well. So they have lots of support throughout.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think one of the things that our viewers need to know is that, police officers, a lot of people don't call or are afraid to call because they don't think they will be believed. And that also includes sort of a misgivings or misunderstandings about police officers or police employees, where they're calling 911 speaking to a dispatcher, or they're actually having a patrol officer respond. They need to understand that we are also trained to start by believing, that we are not disinterested in what's going on in their lives, and this is something they need to tell somebody, they need to tell us, so we can give them the assistance, provide the assistance necessary to keep them safe. And so I think a lot of people are hesitant to call us for fear that no one's going to believe me. And we're trained to do just that.
And what's so unique about the Family Advocacy Center is it's such a multi-agency facility. Some of the first in its kind, correct? I mean, we jumped on the bandwagon pretty early on that concept in Scottsdale, correct? Which houses detectives and social workers and medical personnel and prosecutors, right? So that the victim doesn't get victimized more than once. Right. Is that the reason behind the Advocacy Center?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. When I first started, as I mentioned earlier, things were done so much differently in terms of how sex assault allegations and crimes were reported and how they were investigated. And the Mesa Center actually opened in 1994, and the agencies throughout the valley have followed suit since that time. We opened, I believe, in February of 2003. And it's a wonderful concept because a victim can come to our agency and they don't have to leave. Everything is handled under one roof. All of their needs are attended to. And as Chief Rodbell was saying, a lot of times victims are afraid to call the police. They're afraid of how they're going to be treated. And it's really makes
shame.
Yes.
And then the fact that they have to be victimized over and over again because they have to go to another place and tell the story again, and go to another place and tell the story again. This way they can tell the story one time, and they have everybody there that can assist them.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it has shown that in cases of acquaintance sex assault, it's actually very common for a victim to delay reporting. And so when they finally do come forward to the police department, it's really important that we model how they should be treated as a victim of a crime. It's important that we educate them, we provide information, we tell them about the process, the criminal part, what's going to happen after they leave the center, because information is power. And many victims have told, Detective Scritchfield and I, we work very closely together, and many victims have told both of us how important and how impactful their experience was at the Advocacy Center because of how the whole entire team treated them in terms of believing them.
And we've had the SANE nurses, sexual assault nurses, on our program before. That's a partnership with Honor Health?
That's correct.
Right, and so, and that's that, as you mentioned, gives people an opportunity to be examined privately, tell the story one time, not be re-victimized time and time again. All the support system is there. It's a great program.
Correct, correct. And what other, so tell us some of the other things that your unit does, Detective. I know they have many facets of investigation. Just kind of throw out some of just the person's crime or the victims unit. There's several, the person's victims crime and another unit there. Or
within the Advocacy Center, we do have the Violent Crimes Unit, or VCU. We have the Domestic Violence Unit, or DV unit, and then we have Sexual Special Victims Unit, which is SVU. And within my unit, we have 7 detectives and 1 sergeant. We have some specialties within our unit, such as we have 1 detective that tracks all the sex offenders within the city of Scottsdale, and right now we have 112, and she works daily to keep on top of those that are living in our city. We also have internet crimes against children detective. We actually have 2 detectives now working on that, and that is any crimes related to children being sexually exploited through the internet and their cell phones and tablets and laptops, and you know, it's such a different world now with our children and grandchildren that they're being exposed to so much on the internet that, I mean, we didn't even have it when we were young. So there's a lot of things that parents can do to keep on top of what is going on in coming through their child's electronic devices, and knowing their passcodes, knowing the apps, knowing all their friends, and limiting their access. It can be a lot less scary when, again, you have the knowledge of what's going on in your child's life. And then we also have a unit, or a couple of detectives in our unit who work on the sexual exploitation and human trafficking and underage juvenile prostitution. And so, and that's another unfortunate thing that is happening all across the world. And so they're doing a lot of outreach and education and investigation into those areas.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, is that parents really need to know what's going on in their children's lives. Children should know that there's safety out there as well, that they SROs in the schools, they can approach and talk about anyone that may be approaching them, or approach them whether online or in person. You know, we need to hear that too. But parents need to know what's going on in their children's lives and where they're going as they go through the internet. As you mentioned, they could be victimized by somebody completely across the world, or the country for that matter. So it's kind of scary, and so I appreciate that advice.
It's scary that the detectives are so busy back there too, because I will tell you that every time we go through Citizens Academy, and this would be another good reason for people to join the Citizens Academy, we spend one night at the Advocacy Center. And I think when people leave the Advocacy Center after, you know, sitting down and listening to these experts speak, they are in shock, as well as myself. Because again, Callie just did one a couple weeks ago, and I was in the back of the room knowing I have, you know, 6 grandchildren now, and I just was like, oh my goodness, it's just so much happening.
Yeah, it's ever changing.
It is, and these guys are really heroes. They do some very hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other advice you might have for either parents or potential victims that might keep them safe? Don't want to ever make it sound like they did something that made them victims, but the things they can do to protect themselves and be aware of their surroundings. Any suggestions?
I think a lot of times parents think they need to be their children's friends, and they, in situations like this, they need to be the parent and lay down the rules, and in order to be able to use these devices and have access to the internet, and you know, creating a contract and agreeing on consequences for if they break the contract. And you know, when we were little, we learned from a very young age about stranger danger. And in our concept, it was someone jumping out of the bushes or, contacting you on the way home from school. Now that stranger danger is still, alive and well, but it's coming through their cell phones and their computers. And it could be someone who's across the world, or it could be someone who's, in the same city, and the kids are making contact and then they're going and meeting these strangers. So there is that stranger danger. And talking to your kids about not meeting anyone that they don't know, being aware of who their friends are, and literally going through their contact list. And if you don't know them, you delete them. And take that phone away at night. We see all the time the teens and tweens, and they're up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning texting and on their devices. Take it away, let them get some rest, and that's a time that a parent can go through, be familiar with the applications, and understand what is going on online, because it's a whole other world out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they're being exposed to so much more than they need to be.
Thanks for that. We have a very vibrant downtown, and it can be a safe, enjoyable experience, and we have tens of thousands of people, in the course of the year, down there enjoying themselves. But it can also be someplace that people need to be aware of their surroundings and be aware of the things that they could be encountered by or challenged by, and so much as like leaving a drink on a table and leaving for a while and coming back and not knowing what may have happened to that drink while they've left the table. And so I don't know if we're seeing those kinds of things happening in our downtown, and we have some advice for folks that come into our city, but if you have some idea of things we can tell our audience, that would be great. Any thoughts?
Sure. Yes, we unfortunately we still are seeing cases like that, and I would say is to be aware of, like you said, kind of be aware of your surroundings when you go out. You still have the right to have a great time and enjoy yourself, but unfortunately in the world that we're living in today, I think that we have to be a little bit more vigilant when we're out. I also think that if you're a bystander, to think if something doesn't look right, don't put yourself at risk, but it's okay to speak up. It's okay to maybe call the police department and say this just didn't look right. I would definitely model how healthy relationships, what they should look like if you overhear somebody talking about something that's disrespectful in terms of how maybe a guy was treating a woman or vice versa. I would say please speak up and maybe intervene and challenge that notion a little bit and talk about some of those myths that exist in our society regarding sex assault. They're still out there. If you hear any of those and you know different, please speak up and educate somebody, and that can go a long way. Sometimes it can make a really big difference in a person's life.
And we had a campaign a couple of years ago about this very issue in the downtown, and it was fairly successful. And so it's really an issue of, again, we don't want to place blame, we want to put responsibility on the victims. We just want them to be safe and be alert and aware of their surroundings, and not travel necessarily by themselves, go with friends, and just be careful, because we want people to have a great time. That's what we're all about, quite frankly. So we want to see that. So that's some really great advice. Thank you for that. Some places where people can go if they think they need to reach out. Some phone numbers that they can call. Would it be best to call you? Would it be best to call Code PCIS? If people are just looking for information or some advice, what would be the best way to go about getting that?
Think of a couple different places. Obviously, you can always call our unit. We have a non-emergent or a crisis line number that I can give to you. It's 480-312-5055. You can always call that number, and we would be happy to talk through whatever issue or concern you might have and try to lead you to the appropriate place, whether it's making a formal report or maybe if you just want to get counseling maybe for something. You could be an adult and this could have happened as a child and you don't want to get the police involved, but it's still bothering you and maybe you want some counseling. The other agency in town is called Impact, and Impact has a 24-hour line, and they actually can handle any concerns regarding sex assault issues. That number is 480-736-4949. That's a 24-hour line, and they have specialists that handle that line, and they are more than happy and capable of speaking to somebody and addressing those issues. There are also a couple of national numbers. I don't have them off the top of my head, but the Polaris Project is a wonderful resource. If you have access to the internet, you can get online and Google the Polaris Project. They have a national, they operate actually the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and they actually now have a texting option, but unfortunately it's wonderful, but the texting is not available until 3 p.m. But if you just Google Polaris Project, the phone number will be on there, how to text, and they primarily offer resources nationwide in the area of trafficking issues.
That's great.
Yes.
How many, can you just go quickly over how many people are in your unit and your qualifications and what kind of background you all have?
Sure. Our unit is supervised by Tracy Wilkinson, and then besides Tracy as a supervisor, we have 6 crisis intervention specialists. We have 2 of us are stationed out of the Scottsdale Family Advocacy Center. It's Eric Shin and myself. And then in our southern location, we have Natalie Summit, Michelle Lopez, Anthony Payuca, and Tisha Porti. In addition, we have a canine response dog by the name of Fozzie, and Anthony is his handler. Some of our qualifications to work in the unit would be a master's degree in, it could be in psychology, social work, sociology, and then it's very helpful to have some crisis intervention experience or some background working in mental health or working with the mentally ill. Because not only do we handle calls out of the advocacy center that relate to crimes against person, but we also handle a lot of death-related calls, mental health calls, basic needs, people who in our community might need a food box or resources such as those. We are called out to assist those individuals as well.
I just wanted people to know the high qualifications that you all have. They all know how a high standard we have of our police officers and our detectives and how much training that they go through, but I just kind of wanted the audience to hear just the qualifications that you all have and just the expertise that you bring to the department and the great resources that you, and the kindness and care and comfort that you give to so many people. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, this community is very, very fortunate to have the quality of our staff that we have. We're very, very lucky. You know, if you mentioned Fozzie, he's been on the show before.
He has been on the show. Sorry, he's been here.
We are the first police department in the country, I believe, in the country, to actually have a crisis dog assigned to the police department. There are plenty of crisis dogs out there, but actually Fonzie came to us just through, I guess, luck. Unfortunately, he couldn't do certain things, perform certain things as a service dog, and so the opportunity to get him as a member of the organization has been delightful. He's been with us how many years now?
Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember. Was it 2007 maybe?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
quite a few dog years there.
Yeah.
but he's been wonderful, and the fact that you even include him in the whole group, he's part of the family, so it's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, you know, one of the things we do, we're a pretty open organization in terms of sharing information. And I know that there's some information online if people are interested in going online and looking at it, including where some of the registered sex offenders are located. So it doesn't actually give their exact address and who they are and photograph them, but it gives you an idea in the neighborhood. So people that are looking for that, to make sure the neighborhoods are safe and be aware of their surroundings can go online. What else can people find online that might be of advantage to them on these issues?
Well, right in April, it was actually a big month. It was Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and they also have Victims' Rights Week. And for next year, if the viewers are interested in becoming a little bit more involved as community members, they can get online and they can Google Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and there's basically an agency that runs that campaign, and they give very nice tips for community members if they would like to become involved to do their part. That's one of them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Polaris Project. And End Violence Against Women International is also another organization that they actually started the Start by Believing campaign, and that is a really wealth of information if viewers would like to Google that organization as well. They have a lot of tips on there about keeping yourself safe. They have a lot of ideas about how to support people in our community who do come forward, from a school-based curriculum, also just business owners, just the wide variety of the people who live here in the city of Scottsdale.
That's great. And I guess the other thing I would say, Detective, would be that your unit has come a long way from the stereotype of policing and sexual assault victims and having to come in with a whole bunch of men or just people that didn't really kind of believe. And so mostly there are, it's a safe and easy environment for these victims to come to. And there's quite a few women in your unit, is there not?
Yes, we have 4 or 5 of our detectives are women. I'd say 5, and then our sergeant is a man, and then we have 2 men.
Not that men can't do a job.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to say that. I just wanted to kind of.
I'm outnumbered here. I'm not going to go there.
Sorry. I just wanted because there might be that just one victim out there that would be afraid to say something like that to a man, or it would intimidate her, or him, or whoever, and just wanted to throw that out, that it is a safe environment for everybody.
Absolutely, and what I can promise about any detective or anyone that works in the Advocacy Center, they're there because they believe in victims and they believe in fighting for the rights of victims and doing a thorough investigation, and they would do, anyone can do a good investigation.
Absolutely.
Because they have a passion for it, and they believe in the process.
Perfect.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but not on the air. This is still the most underreported crime. Sexual assault and rape is still the most underreported crime. And so as we see statistics go up, believe it or not, that's a success story, because we know that there are people that are holding back for whatever fears, holding back from reporting. And so we want people that have had these experiences to come forward, let us know about them so we can stop this and get them to safety.
And if you know anybody, if you know a friend, a family member is being abused or in a domestic violence situation, you can call the detectives or the social workers. They will give you advice so you can help that person help themselves. Sometimes it just takes that extra person trying to find out the information to give to the person who's afraid to come forth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ladies, I want to thank you both for being part of the program. This has been wonderful, and hopefully some folks out there that are looking for assistance will be able to find as a result of the program. And meanwhile, the viewers should know that this is one of the things that we do really, really well. We do a lot of things really, really well in this organization, but this is one of those things that Scottsdale does right, and it's because of the quality and professionalism of our staff. And so thank you for all that you do to keep our community safe. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.
Well, it's another month.
Here we go again. I'll see you in June.
This year just keeps on flying by.
I'll see you in June.
This is the month for prom.
That's right.
And graduations. And we talked about why, regardless of whether it's a soda,
driving.
no matter if it's a soda or whatever, be careful of and cognizant of your surroundings and be aware of what's going on. And parents, be aware of what your kids are, where your kids are going after prom and after graduation, and be careful.
I always used to tell my son, one mistake can change your life forever. One decision that you make is wrong can change your life forever. So just think before you make that decision or leap forward.
Good advice. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here this month, and we'll see you next month on Behind the Badge. Till then, take care and be safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.